What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Motorfest. So we are now looking at the Electric Odyssey playlist and/or most of the challenges you can do, and I guess in some ways it's basically all of them, but I'm sure a lot of players are going to want the electric sound engine. Maybe. But I would say the smoke does look kind of cool, but do keep in mind if you guys do want the legendary title, you will obviously have to do this with a crew and/or do the grand races, but you luckily can get the electric tire and/or like the electric engine sound by just basically doing the regular challenges solo. But for the first challenge though, guys, E-Spin, drive from the Turtle Bay Resort to the Alani Resort. So for this, you will obviously have to use the Pure Edition that you did get from completing the playlist, and I would actually say this car is honestly pretty awesome, but this challenge is going to be pretty simple because there's no time limit on this, and all you really have to do is to basically drive from one place to another. But do keep in mind, guys, you can also do other challenges at the same time, like the E-Roadie, which you will have to do 9.3 miles on asphalt, so at least you will get some progress onto this challenge while doing so. But you might actually be able to get the E-lectric mood done as well, but I'm not gonna lie, this challenge is most likely going to be on the frustrating side for many people because, well, how many times do you actually have a legitimate storm and free drive that you can do this challenge on? And if you guys are wondering, by the way, there is another challenge you will have to do. That is going to be with the GMC Hummer EV, which you will have to destroy 50 objects during a storm. So for me, guys, I was basically doing a bunch of other challenges and or doing like races and stuff, and I one day looked at like my screen when I was editing a video and I was like, oh, it's storming. So I immediately jumped into the Pure Edition and or went the 217, which, by the way, I would say the car doesn't have to be max leveled, but having it leveled slightly might help a bit. And of course you can then jump into the Hummer and basically run into like fences and like poles, and you should be good to go to get that one done at the same time. But I really do think, guys, that's most likely going to be one of the most frustrating ones to do, and the main reason for that is it doesn't storm like it really should be. And then moving over to the next challenge, guys, E-Leader, drive for 1 minute straight in first position in the event piece of E-Stories. So I would probably say this event is probably going to be a pretty easy one to do overall, and I would say a lot of players might even get this challenge done without realizing it. But if you guys are looking for the easiest way, I would recommend putting the event difficulty on level 1. That way the AI are going to be insanely slow, so at least it is going to give you a chance to really get in front, and you only have to be in front for 1 minute. So I would say this challenge is probably going to be on the easier side, mainly because the Lotus is insanely quick, and if you guys do have this vehicle leveled up a bit, this is probably going to be really easy to do. But do keep in mind, putting this on level 1 definitely will make this easier. But moving over to the next challenge, full E-charge. So empty your entire nitro gauge 3 times in the event Mo and Powa rule of the street. So for this, guys, you will once again have to do the donut media playlist in order to do this challenge. But luckily, it's most likely not the first time you'll probably see a challenge about a nitrous gauge being emptied completely, and I would probably say that's going to be a good thing. Luckily, these challenges are pretty simple. For this though, guys, just make sure your nitrous gauge is completely maxed out, and then of course empty it all the way down completely. And if you are wondering, by the way, all you have to do is to keep it pinned. That way you are emptying the gauge out all the way down, but I would say this challenge is pretty simple for the most part. Now, moving over to the next one, finish the event Lotus E-xpress without collision. So I have been noticing some people having issues with this challenge, and I was discovering, guys, in order to get this done, you have to have the clean modifier perk active when doing it. So if that is not on and you still beat this without collision, sometimes the challenge will not actually work that way. So make sure you guys do have the clean modifier on, and it's also a good indication if you actually hit something. So a big tip though is to make sure the AI are on difficulty level 1, because I did notice they really love to get in the way a lot. But moving over to the next one, guys, perform 10 near miss during a storm in the event Lotus E-xpress. So I also do want to mention, by the way, guys, there's no AI in this race, so you are technically doing like a time trial type of event. But the best thing though is you can easily get the 10 near misses and also go after the without collision in the exact same race. And then moving over to the next challenge, guys, is going to have 5 slalom feats without collision with the lovely Porsche Taycan. So I would say this event is going to be pretty simple, but do keep in mind, guys, there's going to be another one of the exact same challenges with the Hummer. So I would recommend doing both of these on the exact same skill. That would most likely make them go a lot faster. But Moving over to the next challenge though, drive from the Waimea wind turbines to the YPO Fields South wind turbines without collision. So this is going to be one of those challenges, guys, that doesn't have a time limit on it, but you will have to drive from one location to the other on the map without actually hitting anything. Now, this can go for like slamming into a car, like hitting a tree, or even running into a fence is going to make this challenge fail. So I would recommend taking your time on this challenge though, because you don't luckily have to rush to the other location. There is not going to be a time limit on this one, but for the next one, guys, E-xtreme Velocity finished the event Porsche E-xpress in less than 5 minutes without using nitro. So for this, guys, on the event, I would recommend turning nitro off, and then of course going after and or getting this one done. Now, I thought it was going to be difficult, but if your Porsche is basically close to maxed out, I would say this challenge is going to be fairly simple. But moving over to the next one, finish the Porsche Express without collision. So this is going to be similar to some of the other ones, guys. Now, I did mention this in a previous video. In order to get this challenge done, you will have to have the clean modifier on in order for this to activate, and I have noticed and or have seen comments of people saying it wasn't working, so I definitely would recommend trying this out with that modifier on, and that's also going to be for the next one as well. So get a perfect clean driving score in the event 911 Legends. So for this, you will obviously have AI with you, and even on level 1, guys, I would recommend waiting on passing the AI into like the bigger open highways. I found this one to be much easier that way, but once you are in front, basically be a bit careful and not hit anything, and watch out for those really big red things in the road. Those do pop up. And then moving over to the next challenge, win the event Off-Road Island in the Off-Roading Addict playlist. So for this, guys, you will have to use the Hummer EV, and I would actually say this is probably one of the easier challenges we have seen compared to some of the others. So for this, I would recommend having the event difficulty on level 1. For some odd reason, I decided to do this on level 5, which I definitely would not recommend doing, because even though the Hummer is good, the AI are still insanely quick. So I would recommend having this on level 1, at least get this challenge done, and then of course move over to the next one. But the next one, guys, finish the event Hummer Express without collision and during a storm. So for this one, you will have to do this event with a storm active, and you can also do this like in the menu, so you can do like an afternoon shower or like maybe like a nighttime shower. But the big thing here is you cannot run into anything during this event, and the other way to look at this as well is you don't actually have to win this race if you don't want to, but I really do think, guys, getting this done as quickly as possible is most likely the best way, and luckily I would say getting this done, most likely having like afternoon showers. The big thing here is watching out for like these stone walls and or like the fences that are basically everywhere, and if you guys hit literally a tiny fence and lose like $2, you are still going to fail this challenge. So I would recommend taking your time, and luckily you don't actually have to win this event. And then for the next challenge, guys, you will have to visit the crater in Free Drive, which is indeed the biggest one in the entire map. So for this, I would recommend spawning by the skill that's basically on the bottom, and then of course getting a running start to get all the way to the top. Now, I have to recommend something. I would actually go after more parts for this vehicle if it's not maxed out, and the main reason for that is the ID buggy isn't the fastest thing out there, and depending on your route going up the hill, I did notice it does struggle, but I would recommend keeping nitrous, guys, because the ID buggy really isn't that quick, and I can definitely see this thing struggling at the top of this crater. But if you do have nitrous, you can push it to at least get this challenge completed. And then moving over to the next challenge, guys, open 5 treasure boxes. So I would probably say this challenge is going to be pretty simple for the most part, but if you are looking for a fast way to do this one, guys, I would recommend flying a plane and then having the ID buggy as your favorite ground vehicle. That way you can switch to it and get this one done quick. And then moving over to the next event, guys, finish the event Hummer E-xpress in less than 3 minutes and 15 seconds. So for this, guys, I would recommend having that vehicle leveled a bit. I would say having this thing like base level, this is probably impossible, and the main reason for that is because the overall acceleration on this buggy is honestly terrible, but luckily it is going to have a pretty high top speed, and if you guys are running a maxed out buggy, this will be pretty easy. And then for the next challenge, guys, you will have to win the event Final Event without using nitrous. So for this, I actually decided to do this event with the Taycan S. Now what's kind of funny is it doesn't tell you what vehicle you have to use, so I would basically assume just to turn off that modifier for nitro, and you should be able to get this one done pretty fast. And then moving over to the next one, guys, play 5 summit contest events with an electric vehicle. So for this one, I actually decided to use the Pure Edition and jump into like a speed trap and or one of these slaloms if they are in one of the summits, and that is most likely going to be one of the easiest ways to do this. But do keep in mind, guys, you don't have to do the actual racing events. You can do like the regular skills 5 times to get this done. So if it is going to be like a slalom and or a speed trap, that is by far the fastest way to finish this challenge. And now finally, guys, moving over to the last few challenges here. So the first one, reach top 10 in a grand race. The next one is going to be complete a grand race with an electric vehicle. And then the last one, perform a 50 overtake without collision in a grand race with an electric vehicle. So funnily enough, for all 3 of these, you can actually use the Pure Edition to at least knock out 3 challenges in one, and or at least work toward all of them, and that is by far going to be like the fastest way to do so. But overall, guys, the Electric Odyssey challenges really are going to be simple. I would say some of them might take some time to do, and some might definitely be frustrating, like waiting for an actual storm to come in. That way you can actually get some of the challenges done, but luckily in the meantime you can do some of the other ones to at least get this entire thing completed.